to Twitter and so on. Huge amount of communication going on there. I went up to my room a few minutes ago and I saw the end of the CNN news, and they were talking about, as part of the CNN news, they were talking about what are people talking about on Twitter or on the equivalent in different countries. That was part of the news just now. But there are problems. One is that we're constantly available by mobile phone. The blurring of between the boundary, the blurring of that boundary between work and home, it's happening all of us, unless we are disciplined enough to turn things off or have our phones turn off themselves at a particular time so you're no longer accessible. So there are things we must know. We probably always should be aware of the intrusion, what's happening. E-government, in Europe, the e-government action plan for the next 4 years has 4 priorities. And basically, I won't read them all, but basically what they want is to cut down boundaries, remove all barriers, make things easier to do, and put in place key enablers, which really are, somebody talking about broadband and so on, giving people the facilities, the functionality to allow people to do e-business and to communicate citizens to government right across Europe. And I just been looking at some of the research in the past. Rheingold in 1993 talking about citizen-based democracy, and Wilhelm talking about we're finding ourselves at a new frontier of civil rights. It's changing, and we heard that all before lunch. In teaching and education, teachers and pupils need to know an awful lot. Teachers have 3 different areas. Many teachers are now using learning management systems, and if they're not doing that, most of them are using technology to prepare their material. And then they're also teaching using technology. So there are 3 different areas teachers have to think about. And they need more than just technical skills. Some research in 2009 said the different competencies teachers and learners need. So students need to learn. But we know that research has shown that students actually, if they see something electronically, they tend to believe it more than if you say it to them. That's totally wrong. So we need the skills to know and to be able to discern the knowledge that is coming at us or the information that is coming at us. I always need to speak a little bit about inclusion. It is very important that we are inclusive in everything we do. Now, exclusion can happen in many different ways, societal, financial, and so on. The inclusion issues which we've been working on really are in relation to people with a disability, mainly because it is so easy to be inclusive, but it's not actually done. A person with a disability will normally use assistive technology in the form of hardware or software. Very often that's not built in. A person with a disability not only will have to become digitally literate, but will have to learn something to enable them to. So just to be aware that there is another little hurdle. But once they're over that, technology can change the lives of a person with disability. But the developer, the person who designs the website, the person who designs the systems, also has to be aware of that. And I'm nearly there. Just looking at some frameworks, there are a few competency frameworks. Do you want to take that?
Yeah. Yes, as Denise was saying, the various skills that are required, different people put them into frameworks to somehow or other contain the skills and define the skills, and these have been done with the ECDL, the European Computer Driving License, which both of us were involved in creating. And in fact, an interesting point, Denise said that 90% of people in 5 years will need ICT skills for jobs. All 90% of jobs will need ICT skills. When we started working on the ECDL in 1995, the figure was 50% of all jobs needed ICT skills. So there's been tremendous change, and I guess in due time it will be 100% of jobs almost will need. Perhaps will you need ICT skills to milk a cow? Perhaps, I don't know. You probably will actually, in a milking machine.
You probably have RFID.
So there's different frameworks of skills put together by ECDL, by Microsoft, and by IC3, and other people as well. While all this was going on, the European Union, through the work of the European Commission, was trying to get a handle on ICT skills and brought together people in the 1990s, and a group produced career space guidelines for curriculum guidelines for universities, and that was a group which was made up of industry and academics. And that morphed into a group that still exists called IADIS, the e-learning industry group. But it concentrated on e-learning, so the European Commission set up a digital forum to work on ICT skills. And that digital forum morphed into the CEN workshop on ICT skills. CEN is a standards body, and there was a feeling about that we needed to, in some way, define what ICT skills were and define the curricula that were required in order to produce people with these appropriate ICT skills, and define the certification levels that were appropriate as well. So the CEN workshop on ICT skills was set up in 2003, and it's got participants from many different countries, and it has national and international representatives, but it also has social partners, trade unions, and there has been an emphasis on human resource, HR, which was mentioned this morning, an emphasis on defining skills for HR activities within the ICT skills area. And the aspiration of the CEN workshop on ICT skills is to create long-term human resource and competence development strategies for the European ICT community. Having sat down at the back earlier today, I know this is going to be challenging, but basically these next 3 slides are really to indicate a list of things that the CEN workshop on ICT skills has achieved. And the CEN workshop produces things called CEN workshop agreements, CWAs, which are pre-standards activities. They are work done by the workshop and put on public display for public comment, and when the public review is over and the amendments are made, it becomes a CEN workshop agreement. And we have 11 CEN workshop agreements produced in the area of job profiles, in the area of certifications, in the areas of eventually coming into the area of frameworks, because frameworks really are the way forward as introduced by Denise. But the idea is, and we've been working on 3 prongs: frameworks to define ICT practitioner or professional skills, curriculum guidelines to produce the appropriate qualified practitioners, and certifications to measure the ability of the practitioners produced. And we are working, the first priority was for the practitioners, because the European Commission decided, and I think industry decided, that Europe was going to have a skills shortage in this area, and still does have a skills shortage in this area. And we are moving on now to the ICT user skills area, which is everybody. Everybody really is an ICT user. One of the major planks of work is the European e-competence framework, which has started off with a version 1, a version 2, and it's now moving on to version 3, and that defines competences in 5 competence areas: plan, build, run, enable, and manage, with 36 competences defined down here, and with 5 proficiency levels for each competence to the right, and going back into the wall is a knowledge and skills examples, the 4th dimension. And that is the work that's mainly occupying the CEN workshop on ICT skills for the ICT practitioner, and we hope to replicate that for the ICT user in due course. That project will start in October this year. The CEN workshop on ICT skills has one really good aspect about it, and that is that ICT skills are all pervasive. So we have been working with the DG Directorate General for industry, but we are also working with employment, with education, and with information society as well. And we've had cooperative work with people from the United States, Canada, Japan, and Russia. Denise mentioned the digital agenda. The digital agenda covers many pages, but as regards this work of frameworks and ICT skills, one of the key actions, key action 11, is that by 2012, which is next year, develop tools to identify and recognize the competences of ICT practitioners and users. Recognize the competences of ICT practitioners and users. So we have to have some sort of framework that is agreed in order to do that. Linked to the European Qualifications Framework, the EQF, which is another framework which is every country in Europe, all 27, are mandated to map to their individual country applications. And to the Europass, which is the document which has a CV and a measure of one's ability in languages and IT and so on. So that work is ongoing, and the idea is to achieve it by next year. So in conclusion, I think everything that people said this morning, e-skills are necessary. It's becoming clearer. Even when we look at the 90% of jobs require e-skills. And another thing related to this morning about e-skills, we've been working on e-skills for ICT practitioners, and I got a contact from the medical profession, which there was talk about this morning. And there are ICT people working in the medical profession, and they want to be considered as professionals. Now, they are working alongside medical professionals, but they want to be considered as ICT professionals, and they want to work with us on the e-competence framework and professionalism in ICT, so they have an equal standing from a professional point of view with their medical colleagues. The problem of setting any kind of standard or definition is that the definitions are ever evolving and changing. But at a minimum, all citizens should understand the basics of computing at a point in time, and this understanding should include the awareness that technology is ever changing, and the knowledge should be updated regularly. And yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dudley and Denise. Are there any questions? We've got time for questions, a little discussion.
There are, if I look at penetration rates and I look at a variety of socioeconomic, demographic characteristics of the different EU nations, I see significant differences. Is it realistic to call for the attainment of these skills by such and such a date when we have this significant differences in development throughout in the EU nations?
Well, I think we're not as ambitious that we are saying we have to attain these skills, but what we have to do is develop tools to identify and recognize the competences by 2012.
I see.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount more than what we've just talked about now. But on the within the digital agenda, there are these spider graphs showing where everybody is, and it is recognised that we're all of the 27 countries. We're in different places.
Yeah.
But as Dudley says, identifying that first, and then I believe what follows then is funding from the EU to bring the others to the right place on the spider graph. But actually on the web, those spider graphs, quite interesting to see.
Yeah.
Okay, that answer?
Yeah,
Thanks.
I just had a quick question. It's about language skills. Most of the web is in English. I mean, not most, but a significant amount of it. How do you deal with the multiplicity of languages? Information is not being translated necessarily.
Yeah, first of all, I think English is growing in its use, obviously, but there are a huge number of languages in Europe. And if I can just take the example of ECDL. ECDL, when we started first, it was in English. The project was based in English but funded by Europe, but it was agreed that it was English. Since then, it's been translated into 30 languages, and a lot of languages. And each time there is an update to that particular definition of digital literacy, it is then translated. But there is a problem. There are different problems. But if I might very quickly say, there's another interesting problem, and that is part of ECDL and part of some of the other frameworks which we just went through very fast. Part of those have things like using a spreadsheet as the kind of the second level of digital literacy. And I found, particularly in one or two research projects, I found people were having difficulty with that. But when we researched into that, we found that it wasn't a difficulty with the spreadsheet, it was a difficulty with the maths. So there are lots of different things there, like language and maths and all kinds of things that are coming together. Now that it's ubiquitous, we don't even know it's there. So yeah, there are problems with language, issues with language, and the people who are designing frameworks are aware of that and addressing it in some way.
And the ECF, not by European Commission, but by the pressure from various countries, has been translated into French, Italian, Russian, and I think it's currently being translated into Polish. So if there's something worthwhile there, people will translate it.
Unfortunately, worthwhile sometimes means financially worthwhile, but we work on that.
Any more questions?
It's about the way that technologies change and what we see as important as a skill changes over time, and where in these frameworks is it recognised that? I'm looking around the room. I suspect very few of us have been on a course that has certified our skills, possibly for a decade or more. But I would imagine most of us would consider ourselves fairly expert users, at least, of technology. So it's as if there's a threshold beyond which actually we maintain our own skills as and when we need to, and where that becomes recognised in these frameworks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really interesting because we asked this before. In designing ECDL, we were talking about how do people do ECDL, and one of the things that was agreed was that somebody can walk in off the street and say, look, I believe I know this, please test me, and that was agreed. But the interesting thing is that there was a huge number of people who were ICT practitioners who believed digital literacy very basic, and they didn't know it. So these things are, the frameworks we've been talking about are a definition of skills. A lot of people have them, but a lot of people even think they have them but don't have them, but at least they know there's some kind of a structure there. And so they might not be as expert in an area which they think they are.
But if an ICT practitioner
Yes.
believes they've got a skill and it turns out they haven't, then I'm wondering how important a skill that would have been.
Well, if you're an ICT practitioner, if we're talking, ICT practitioners might be somebody who's a web designer. He or she might not be expert in broad digital literacy. I have seen, people with a degree in computer science very often have a focused degree in computer science and know how to generate incredible databases or understand particular areas of networking, but they may not know the basic digital skills. Really, honestly.
When it's going to apply for a job in Europe, do the postings say you need the ECDL certified?
Funny enough, in some countries, but not in all.
No.
Yeah.
And then my other question is, how is this implemented? Is it at the high school level, elementary level, or is it a requirement for graduation?
Yeah, funny, that again is changing. This thing was an initiative of CEPAS, which is the European Professional Informatics Society. So in Ireland, the Irish Computer Society, in the UK, the British Computer Society, Italy, ICA, any other countries. The Informatics or Computer Society in the country is actually running this as a program. Now, the pattern of usage is changing all the time. If I can just speak for Ireland, initially in Ireland, many of the companies decided, I'm being told to stop. I just finished. Many companies decided that they had invested a huge amount in technology. They wanted to see where their staff, whether they were using it properly, and they took it on. But now, I just did a bit of research last month, and I discovered that 49% of the people who achieved ECDL in the last 2 years were from second-level schools aged between 17 and 19. So it's changing. But it's now getting into schools, and I have to stop.
Okay, I'd like to leave time for the others. So this is a token to say thank you from the conference organisers. And I'd like to introduce, while she's getting ready, He-Ying Yang from the National Information and Society Agency.
Hello, this is Hee Yang from National Information Society Agency in Korea. My presentation today is about the measurement of the digital citizenship and the status of the Korea, my country. It consists of 6 parts for worldwide status of entire population and the status of Korea to digital citizenship in Korea. There is a significant increase in the internet usage for 20 years. 4 million people in 1991 used the internet. However, the figure is increased in 2 billion people last year. It means 30% of the worldwide population use the internet, and 44% of those people is occupied by Asian. Of course, it is due to the big population in Asia. In Korea, there is a significant increase in the internet usage for 10 years. In 2000 44% of the population used the internet, but 77.8% of the population aged 3 and over used the internet every year. Korean government has pushed the policy to bridge the digital divide between the general group and the privileged group, such as the low income, the elderly people, and the physically challenged people, like that group. These days, smartphone users are increasing in Korea. 30% of mobile subscribers in Korea use the smartphone, and we estimate this figure increased to 50% in December of this year. The internet usage of ages 3 to 5 in Korea is 63%, and most teenagers to 30th generation use the internet nowadays. They usually use the internet for their getting information, leisure activities, or online shopping, or communicating. And digital natives by the score in Korea, 3 to 9, and teenagers usually use the internet for their getting information, leisure activities, educational learning, and managing their home pages. Some leading portals in Korea provide the specialized internet site for children. Children can enjoy the entertainment in the specialized their site, and elementary school students can supplement their school learning program from the internet site for them. And 20-30 generation in Korea use these days usually the the internet for the communication by social network service. They usually these days smartphone or tablet PCs. About 90% of 20 generation use the social network service. In each last year survey, digital culture created the new class called Power Blogger. Power Blogger is a blog runner who have daily thousands of visitors, and they have a huge influence on those visitors. Power bloggers usually have some specialized information or knowledge related to food or cars, interiors, IT devices, and something like that. Some leading portals in Korea select Power Blogger and support them. And in Korea, we have the knowledge information service site called 지식인. 지식 means knowledge in Korean. Tens of questions follow one. Tens of replies follow one question. When people have some difficulty for the internet uses, they usually visit to this site called 지식인. And nowadays, Korea government has interested in the online donation system. We usually consider its online platform to practice our social responsibility. Many netizens can donate their cyber money or real money to help the underprivileged group. As well as these positive points, there are so many negative points about the internet uses in Korea, such as hacking, malicious rumors, internet addiction, or privacy infringement. The number of cases in cybercrime in Korea steadily increased, although it shows some decrease last year. Last year, there was a hot issue about Daniel Lee, well known as Tablo in Korea. Tablo is a member of Korean hip-hop group Epic High, and he graduated from Stanford in 2002 with his bachelor's and master's degree in English. But he had been a subject of online malicious rumors among so-called netizens who accused him of lying his Stanford graduate. They opened the online cafe called We Urge Tablo Tell the Truth. We urge Tablo to tell the truth. And posted and delivered about Daniel Lee's rumor. So Daniel Lee later took a broadcasting program crew to Stanford campus to prove his academic degree. But now he keeps his way from acting due to the malicious rumors or defamation. And his friends who went to the university with him posted 3 photos of their university aides to prove Daniel Lee's academic degree. And 2 years ago, a famous actress, Choi Jin-sil, hanged herself as a result of the online malicious rumors that related her to loan sharks who lent millions of dollars to another actor An Jae-hwan and drove him to commit suicide. Then the case caused another cyber witch hunt because one netizen posted rumors on the internet, and it was delivered to major internet sites, and it shared among netizens on the internet over the country. And in the same year, Korea was in a strong anti-government protest concerning the import of American beef. Then the rumor about the medical disease had been widespread on the internet of the country in Korea. In the mix, this case created the huge anxiety among netizens. And in the mixing of the opposition to the government response to the FTA and the huge anxiety about the mentioned rumors called medical disease, a lot of netizens or citizens had taken to the street to voice their opinions with candlelight. As I mentioned earlier, Pavlova is a new class in the digital culture, but recently in Korea, it caused some social problems. Pavlova looks like media, so that a lot of netizens tend to depend on the posture of power bloggers. Some power bloggers, the problem is a group of bloggers abusing it. Some commercialized bloggers posted a good assessment for some specific products, despite they have never used it. One power blogger confessed that he received $40 a sale of a product as a commission from a corporate. Another power netizen with 90,000 of daily visitors admitted that he had received 45% of a sale of some product as a commission. With their growing power, bloggers should think of their ways to be responsible about their articles and these before any others. And internet addiction problem is a very traditional internet problem in Korea. Last year, internet addiction rate in Korea was 12%, and high risk group need some special counseling was 3%. To address the risks in the digital world, we have interested in digital citizenship college. Digital citizenship refers to putting your best foot forward digitally, using appropriate ethics and etiquette, and respecting the rights of others, and finally protecting your reputation and your security. There are a lot of political efforts to promote the digital culture in Korea. We have ICT ethics for students, teachers, and the public of the country. Since 2000, we have pushed the ICT ethics policy. For this, we develop and distribute some educational content for free over the country. And these days, we have interested in educating the kindergarten alignment policies for cyber criminals by cooperation with the Ministry of Justice are executed, and we develop and distribute of digital content for educating for children and students through parents. And we have also internet addiction response policy. We provide public counseling service for digital addicted people for free. And over the country, there are a lot of internet addiction prevention centers. And we train counselors for specializing in internet addiction. We are sure these policies contribute to decrease the internet addiction rate. Finally, we developed the index called the Digital Culture Index. Digital culture refers to the aggregate of the intelligent, moral, aesthetic, and practical qualification or output that can add value or meaning to the digitalized life environment. For this index, we organized the first working group and pilot and executive pilot test, and finally we practice expert thereby for weighting of the indices. Digital culture index consists of four components: truth, good, beauty, and activities. Actually, truth, good, and beauty is originated from Hanti philosophy, and we consider the essential component of the activity as a modern society citizens' qualification. And as I introduced of the notion of these indices, you can see it from this slide. Digital ability means the capability to obtain and create diverse data and interact with others positively on the internet. Digital ethics means the attitude to observe good manners and keep the trustworthiness in the cyberspace. Digital sensibility from the beauty component means the aesthetic attitude to aware the importance of text, image, and sound as sensory component and share their emotion on the internet. And finally, this extrovert means the extroverts that enjoy the use of the internet proactively in daily life, participate socially, and practice social contributions. So, four main areas consist of 10,000 indices, and finally we complete 67 items through the pilot test, and we have high and good credibility by Chromebook Alpha. Through the export verify survey, we achieved the rate of indices, as you can see from this slide. Since 2008, we developed the index. We have surveyed digital citizenship survey in Korea. Last year, we had digital culture index of 68 points, and some indices 72 points of digital ability, 78 points of digital ethics, 63.6 of digital sensibility, and finally 51.3 of 3 points of digital expertise. We could find some implications from the last year's survey. First, there was a generation gap in the communication channel on the internet. Younger generation usually use the internet use the social media generation aged 40 and over, they usually use the internet, usually online community for their communication. Yes. So in conclusion, Digital Culture Index may provide a scientific tool to scale and evaluate the qualification as the digital citizen in the digitalized society, and will consider as a comprehensive range of interesting mental enrichment of addressing commodities as well as the importance of the non-driving value and engaging lifestyle that has become evident around the digital culture.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Any questions?
That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'm just a bit anxious that we are sticking to time because we need to finish on time. So I'm not wanting to spoil your presentation. It's very interesting to keep going. We do have time for discussion and a few quick questions. Yes.
I think your presentation didn't have any comparison with other countries. So do you have any comment on the special problems or special strengths of Korea compared with other countries?
About the index?
Anything.
Thank you for your question. In the international comparison, I think Korean people Korean people depend on the internet in their daily lives more and more. In this aspect, over the world, in comparison with other countries, we have so many digital citizens, but the problem is recently we have a lot of internet usage problems such as internet addiction, cybercrimes, or as I mentioned earlier, power brokers. The problem is to be power broker problem. So our government nowadays have interest in the digital culture promotion, especially in the aspect of IT's productive use and the wholesome use. So many parents are in the problem of their children's internet use in Korea nowadays.
Any more questions or some comment? No?
Can I just ask a quick
Yes,
question?
please.
So when you, for example, measuring digital citizenship, and I think there are a couple of items that you've introduced. Do you have any standardized way of measuring digital citizenship, or how do you define the measurements, the index we have introduced?
Sorry, to develop the index, digital citizenship measurement.
Okay, anything, but the index that you're introducing, is it standard measurement process, or did you define by Korean?
Digital measurement process.
Mm-hmm.
We consider it as a standard index because we organize some research group consisting of statistics, sociologists, politics, and media science.
In Korean, or it's an international group?
In Korea, only in Korea. So our vision of the index is to spread internationally. For this, we need
would you put your hands together for Hei Ying, please? And just say thank you from the committee. There's a little certificate in there, so thank you very much. It was very interesting. So, so welcome to our last speaker for a short presentation. I introduce you to Ilya Stechkin, who I think we've got to know during this time, and he comes from
Lomonosov Moscow State University.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is really Ilya Stechkin, and I'm a lecturer in the Faculty of Journalism at Moscow State University. And also I'm a head of the United Editorial Board of Internet Projects of the faculty. What does it mean? It means that every type of internet activity are produced and promoted and managed through our department. Before I try my academic career, I had some experience in real mass media. I was a manager of internet projects in a TV channel, then started to be the head of internet department, and finally I tried to reflect the practical experience. So my interests are the new roles of the journalist, the transformation of the journalist role with the new informational communicational technologies, and the transformation of the role of the audience. That's the point. And my today's topic is on the crossroad of these two groups of interests. So the topic is interaction in media, the way to protect the reality. The topic is a plan, so we'll start discussing the reality and different ways to protect it. Then we'll speak about mass media, media professionals, and how they can influence the protection of the reality. And finally, interaction in media is a way to protect the reality. Let's start with the reality, but first know that interaction is the easiest way to prove somebody's existence. So back to the reality. We can find two types of the reality. Primary is that the reality where we all were born and we are now situated, except the people with laptops, you see. And the secondary is the virtual, handmade, and web-based reality. And now, as a colleague before me told, we can find the process of changing of the realities when the person prefers to produce positive social activity as the secondary reality. So, because of this is the new point, this is the new effect and the new trend, we need a new word, and I use the term debigration to mark the process. So the question is, why do people prefer secondary reality? There are two types of reasons. The personal reasons are, first, it's easy to interact. And we do remember that interaction, the communication, is the easiest way to prove yourself that you exist. Then, the time online is scalable. That's quite important. Also, to construct yourself online, the general image from language to avatar is much more easier than to construct yourself in a primary reality. And there are a lot of instruments to demonstrate the results online. For example, if you have a great deal in Facebook-based game, Mafia, the system will automatically publish the results on your wall. The next block, connected with the mass media influence. media produce the fashion to the online as a style of life. Then mass media broadcast the position of prevailing authorities. You know, the president of Russia is the fan of new technologies, so he promotes this style. Then the interests of financial structures, the interests of businesses. There are different businesses interested in promoting the network as a channel of the personal business model, because it's an effective one. If you are working online, you do not need offices, transport, etc. So the interest of financial structures, and then, last but not the least, the interests of game development industry. They pay billions and billions every year to promote the products, and a lot of the products are online, like massively multiplayer online role-play games. Yeah. So now we know why, and we need to know how to stop the migration and how to take the migrated citizens, like you told, back into primary reality, because that starts to be the real problem. Some countries open clinics to cure people from internet addiction. Others send personal nurses. That's probably the reason to migrate, yeah? In China, they use special camps, and you told it in Korea also. But I'm sure that the role of media and media professionals in protection of the primary reality is very, very important. So media and media professionals, internet and web-based ICTs, like mobile applications, for example, transformed roles either of the media professionals or of the media audience, as the famous British scientist Dennis Maxwell has declared. So I have studied the roles of the journalists in Russian internet and find three groups: traditional, actualized, and modern. But according to my today's topic, we do not need the details about each of them. Those roles were described in my dissertation, so we just need the number of interactive roles, because we already noticed that the interaction is an easiest way to prove one's existence. Interactive roles are organizer, agent of influence, moderator, facilitator. This is the most important role for us for today. Marketologist, sociologist, mediator, and dispatcher. What are the audience's needs? They need respectful dialogue, and we as a press produce the monologue. They need practical results, and we produce the information. They can produce it themselves. They need content navigation, and we still produce the content. They want us to be the gate openers, but we are still gatekeepers. So there's the problem. That's the conflict of interest, the most serious possible conflict between mass media and the audience. And media professionals should practically help the audience in their life in primary reality, because that's the way to stop web migration and reconnect the audience to primary reality. And the nearest interactive connection with the audience have journalists as a moderator, facilitator. What is it, this type of media professionals? And what is its role in process of interaction? First, moderator produce the code of rules to control the audience. Then it controls the audience, and finally it can manage or Tamagotchi the audience. In our study this year, we find three general models of this role. The role of team leader, editor, and specialist or expert. So to be the opinion leader, you should be an expert with a high level of education, and education of internet users also is a way to protect the reality. In the complex protection of the reality, is necessary to educate internet users in 4 different levels in a parallel. We have digital divide between teachers and students. Today there were a lot of presentations about this problem, and the day before. So we should educate teachers, and in Moscow University we start the process. It can't be 1 minute. After that, it should be 3 more minutes. Okay. We need help. Okay, I take it. We need to help young people to study how to use ICTs in effective and safe ways. So we produce and publish the manual. We need well-educated and interaction. We will need well-educated in interaction, media professionals motivated to protect the primary reality. So we have started some special courses. And finally, we need to create such a professional sphere as Hyatt Web. It should be special profession, but not a hobby like today. So perspectives of the study. The very important question in the sphere of protection of the reality is a question of values and targets. Which targets can be realized in primary reality exclusively, and which traditional values helps the individual keep an interest to the reality? That's the questions of our next study. Let's summarize all key points of this presentation. We spoke about the roles, both of the audience and the media professionals, and find the role of moderator. Then discuss the problem of the education, and as the moderators say, we need to finish before the new iPod is coming. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Time for just a couple of quick questions, because I'm mindful that the bus is coming at a 1:45, and maybe people might want a minute or two to breathe. So please, question.
Is that about the environment of educators? And these educators are the ones that are going to work with at the high school level or also in a primary school?
We started, as I thought, it should be in 4 levels in a parallel. So we started an experiment from the secondary, not the, yes, because you see the system of education in Russia is a little bit different. So it's better and easier to start with a secondary school.
I was really interested by the distinction you made between primary and secondary reality. I'm wondering, do you think that would be a tenable distinction to maintain as we see the Internet of Things and the merging of the digital and material worlds, for example, with augmented reality?
You see, that's not me personally, because that concept was created in Britain before the Internet in probably 30 years.
Oh, really?
Yes, by Professor, you will be loved, by Professor Tolkien. The concept of primary and secondary reality was created by Tolkien as a scientist, not a man from literature. And terminologically, that's very useful for our days.
On that line, in the primary reality, does he consider conscious and unconscious? Is that...
Yes, but I think that no, we have not a lot of time to discuss it, but we started studying about the reasons to protection the reality, and you see that that's not quite an easy question, because the